nothing in here.
What's the matter?
I'm so hungry for video games. We haven't had any new games in 7 months.
But what about all these right here?
Oh yeah, I forgot about these. So many of us have experienced gaming starvation because usually there are parts of the year that don't have very many video games. So we're kind of used to that drought of sorts. Typically in the early part of the year we don't get a lot of video games, but it seems like in 2022 there is a more higher rate of less games to play. We have had game delays since the beginning of the year, and we've had a lot of games get pushed into later parts of 2022, and some being kicked all the way out to 2023. But as my friend said earlier, there was some pretty great games that we got to play within the first half of this year, the first 6 months at least. Some Game of the Year contenders, others are just really good games that are worth your time, honestly. Before we talk about our first video game, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe when you're done with this video today, and I hope you enjoy. Let's get into our first game. So the first game we're going to talk about is Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pokemon Legends Arceus was created by Game Freak and produced by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, and of course released earlier this year. Pokemon Legends Arceus is part of the 8th generation of Pokemon games, and is one of the first prequels to a Pokemon game that I'm aware of. Legends Arceus is an action RPG game where you play as your own character who has been sent back through time to when Sinnoh was called the Hisui region. You were taken by the Professor Laventon to live with the Galaxy Expedition team located in Jubilite Village. Here you join the Survey Corps and help learn more about Pokemon and discover all there is to know about Pokemon and to help be part of the creation of the first Pokédex. Not only that, but the Time Rift itself impacts the whole storyline. Not even just the story, but the Pokemon themselves. Throughout the game, you capture a lot of Pokemon. And some of those Pokemon can be noble Pokemon, and some of them are, and those noble Pokemon are like, the nobles of the game. They are, much more powerful versions of the regular Pokemon, and they're kind of like the bosses of the video game. But because of the Time Rift, they have been completely rampaging and are causing more damage than protection. The gameplay for Legends Arceus plays unlike previous games in the series. You are more active in the gameplay as you catch Pokemon using an aiming system that is more open than previous games. The game also brings you closer to the open world Pokemon experience that we have not had in many years, but we've wanted so much. The battles are unique as well because you are outside of those battles. You are on the sidelines of the battles. You're still kind of similar to other games where you're giving them the attack commands, but the RPG gameplay of it plays more like Final Fantasy X and other classic RPGs where agility and speed decide if you attack multiple times or only once, so it's not the only back and forth battle system we've seen in previous Pokemon games. As previously mentioned, the game has boss fights as well, which are the noble Pokemon as well as legendaries later on, and that is kind of the main concept of the game, and you are going to be introduced to a bunch of new Pokemon that you can ride, swim, fly, and so on and so forth, and a lot of those are the Hisui region variant Pokemon. This game introduces only a few set new Pokemon, but it's still a whole lot of fun, and we get some unique Hisui region Pokemon starter evolutions. And the game has such a beautiful story and a huge open world that's reminiscent of Breath of the Wild, and that is why honestly this is one of the best games that came out this year and is probably one of the best Pokemon games we've ever had. For our next game, we have Horizon Forbidden West. It is a long-awaited sequel to the Horizon Zero Dawn game that previously released on the PlayStation 4 and is by far one of the best PlayStation 4 games you can play. In the first game, you got glimpses of an open world system where you fought combat using bow and arrows and spears and all that kind of stuff, fighting these big hostile creatures, and that kind of sticks to the same pace in Forbidden West, except for new creatures that you get, the mechanical creatures to come into contact with, as well as an even bigger open world to explore. Throughout the game, you will ravage parts from deadly machines and fight with other nomadic raider tribes who have tamed the machines as their own war mounts. You will discover a vast array of environments and ecosystems such as lush valleys, dry deserts, snowy mountains, tropical beaches, ruined cities, and underwater settings. The map itself is pretty large compared to its previous game, and there are some very reminiscent areas such as California, Nevada, and Utah. Forbidden West introduces also to the game underwater exploration, improvements to traversal, free-form climbing, several new tools such as the shield wing, focus scanner, diving mask, and the pullcaster. Horizon Forbidden West is by far one of the best games right now on the PlayStation 5, and I know there's not a whole lot of exclusive games on PlayStation 5 right now. You can pick this up on PS4, but out of all of the recent games coming out for PlayStation, this is by far one of the best out there. It did come out at a horrible time because it came out alongside another really popular game we'll get to a little later on, but this game is really awesome. It has so many hours that you can invest into it, from main quests, side quests, exploration, collectibles, and so much more. This game has a lot of love for it, and if you played the first one, you're not going to be disappointed, and this game will be much better than its first game was. But if you didn't play it, I still think it's pretty good enough for you to go out and watch a YouTube video, find out what happened in the first game, and then jump straight into Forbidden West. Or you could just play the first game and then jump right into Forbidden West. But yeah, great game, must play. When it comes to our third game, I was recommended a game from a friend, Tifa, who is going to tell you all about this game herself.
Gran Turismo 7 came out this year. I think it was in March that it came out. Obviously, I got the Steelbook edition for it. But what this game really does to showcase how it's going to be a Racing Game of the Year contender is the excellent driving simulation physics that are in the game. In career mode, you start off, they have a car cafe, and so you go to the cafe, you go to the menu book, and they have like specific things for you to do, like race at Nürburgring or race at Daytona or something like that. And so you get in whatever car that fits the class that you're going to go race, and then you go race. And if you win, then you get the cars as like prizes and stuff like that. Game has a very rich customization options. You can download other liveries from other players, and then you can ultimately put those with your AI cars whenever you're racing. You can change the names of AI drivers, which is a nice feature. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic racing game. It's easy to pick up and play. You don't need to be like in real simulation type racer to enjoy it. There's a lot of customization options for other players to enjoy and to get a feel of how you would want to play. Another interesting feature is the like the music mode, where you drive alone to set tracks in the game, and then you have to like reach a certain point before time runs out for the music and stuff. So that's an interesting feature as well. For new players, it is easy to pick up and play because of the assists that are in the game, helping with like things like automatic braking, traction control, steering assist. You can change the difficulty of the AI cars. That way it's a lot easier. If you're into like NASCAR like I am, the pack racing at Daytona is also very good, depending on what car class that you decide to go with. But yeah, in all, it is a very solid game, very great. Do highly recommend it to players wanting to pick up a racing sim that's not on the level of Assetto Corsa or Project Cars 1 and 2, not 3. And the photo mode is stunning. It has a stunning photo mode. You can place your car in a variety of different locations and take pictures of your car, and that's really cool. But that is all I have to say for GT7.
So we took a detour for a couple PlayStation 5 games, but now let's jump back to the Nintendo Switch and talk about an amazing game that released this year, right at the end of all these amazing games that were coming out the first part of the year. And of course, that game is Kirby and the Forbidden Land. Like all the previous games you play as Kirby, you have this ability to consume items by consuming different enemies and being able to use different abilities from those enemies you consume. In some of the Kirby games we got to play recently, there have been some co-op elements to the game, and this game doesn't miss out on that. You do have the ability to play co-op with a friend, and your friend gets to play as a Waddle Dee to join you as your companion. The game takes you on an adventure through the Forgotten Lands called New World, where you have to rescue Waddle Dees that have been kidnapped by the ferocious Beast Pack, as well as, of course, King Dedede. This game is similar to Super Mario Odyssey, where you are taken from stage to stage with pretty decently sized open world stages. In Kirby and the Forgotten Land, you will complete each stage after you have saved the Waddle Dees. All of the stages you play give you an automatic set of Waddle Dees when you finish it at the very end, but there's some optional Waddle Dees to save throughout the level, which adds to the actual extent of the gameplay for each stage to stage, because there are different sections of sub objectives you need to complete to get those other Waddle Dees. And through each of those, at the very end, you have a boss fight that you have to complete, and you'll need so many Waddle Dees saved to be able to move on to that final stage. I didn't have to stop, really, to get any of them or go back and replay stages, because for the most part, the optional Waddle Dees to save throughout levels are pretty easy to do and don't take a lot of effort to get them along the way, and so you kind of end up with enough to move on to the next level. So as I said before, there are some very typical abilities that you have in Kirby games, like Fire, Sword, Boomerang, and so on and so forth. But in this game, we were introduced to two brand new abilities, which were Drill and Ranger, as well as the ability to upgrade them at the shop within the game and make their abilities even more powerful later on. So several abilities you could upgrade a couple of times, to the point where the fire ability was more than just a fireball and was like a huge extravagant ability. The swords got bigger and bigger to the point where it was like basically you were Cloud but in Kirby form. And so those were all the types of different ways that you could upgrade your powers later on. But there are also introductions of a new ability called Mouthful Mode. And in Mouthful Mode, Kirby can pretty much, and it was kind of the advertisement for the game, but you could consume big, larger objects like vending machines, cars, fans, light bulbs, and so on and so forth, and those added different gameplay elements to the stage, because you would have to consume those larger objects to do some kind of part in the game to move forward in that level. Then of course you have boss fights and throughout the whole game, and a lot of them are just very fun, interesting boss fights that require a lot of memorization and paying attention to patterns, like most video games with boss fights. When it comes to our next game, we're gonna throw in a free-to-play game. So the game we're talking about is Fall Guys Free-for-All, or formerly known as Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. Fall Guys was a video game released on the PlayStation 4 and the Windows platform, and it was a paid game. But as of 2022, and this game's been around since 2020, but since June of 2022, we finally got the free-to-play version of this game, and it's now on every platform from PlayStation to Nintendo to the Xbox to Steam and so on and so forth. So if you don't know what Fall Guys is, it's a platform battle royale developed by Mediatonic, published by Epic Games. The game's premise is that you and up to 59 other players will take control of jelly bean creatures and compete against each other in a series of randomly selected mini-games, such as obstacle courses, tag, races, survival games, and point-based games. Players are eliminated as the rounds progress, and until eventually the last remaining player is left alive, and that player is crowned the winner. Fall Guys is a very easy to play, can pick up and play with no issues, but that does not mean that the game is easy to play. Even after 20-some hours of playing the game, I still find myself failing on levels that I previously was the first person to finish. Each stage or mini-game plays different and has obstacles in place that can stop you from being successful in completing each stage. While you have to worry about your own playstyle for the most part, you will also have to worry about other players who can sometimes sabotage you or become a hindrance for you on your way to complete the stage. There are many Battle Royale styles of games out there, such as Fortnite, Call of Duty, Apex Legends. Fall Guys realistically, it's a game that anyone can play. It is very frustrating. It is mindless fun. It has fun elements of different types of game genres, like racing, having to race through the stage, except for you're just a jelly bean. Obstacle courses, which is a platformer element to it. Survival-based games, which is similar to mini games from Mario Party. And it's just got so many things about it that is enjoyable. There is some skill to the game, and eventually some of the game you will become more skillful based as you play it more and more and get used to levels. But you're still going to find yourself at random times being like, how the hell did I fail at this again? When I've just won it like 6 times. But that's realistically the fun of it, is that you don't have to win to be having fun. And I think, especially with the drought of games that we've had so far, this is honestly a breath of fresh air of just a unique experience game that is free for everyone to play and can be picked up and played at any point. And cross progression and on every platform. So if you're on the go, you can pull out your Nintendo Switch and still have all the progress you've made with collectibles. And of course, I haven't mentioned that yet, but there are collectibles for you to get throughout leveling up, as well as the paid battle pass that you can add to your character to give it your own look and be different from everyone else. When it comes to Fall Guys, really everything just comes together. From the way the stages are played out, from the easy jump in and jump out gameplay elements, and just the sheer amount of fun you can have with your friends, just messing with each other and trying to win the obstacle course together, and at some point having to turn on your best friends because it's rather you or them and you want to win a crown, and sometime or another you're just going to have to fend for yourself. Speaking from experience. Then we've went through all of those games and we have finally made it down to the best game of 2022 so far. And that game, of course, is Elden Ring. Elden Ring is an action role-playing game developed by From Software. This is one of the most anticipated game of 2022 for several of the people who have been waiting for this game to come out, and it was an amazing collaboration project with George R.R. Martin. Elden Ring is, of course, similar in many ways to its predecessors of the other games made by From Software, such as character building elements that you can see in pretty much all Souls games. Character builds impact close range skills, long range skills, magic abilities, blocking and dodging. The game does not include a fixed skill tree like some of the other games have previously, and is more invested in discovering these different skills and abilities through exploration and rewards from different combats that you do. Elden Ring also introduces summonings that allow players to summon large varieties of collected spirits hidden throughout the game. These include previously defeated enemies, and that's one of the most coolest things in my opinion about the game, is you can kill certain enemies or potentially, strong monsters that you've had to take it down, and be able to concentrate that into your own summons and use them in combat for later fights that may be beneficial to you. It also includes several elements of co-op and player versus player that we have seen in pretty much all of the other games made by From Software. Elden Ring is definitely not for everyone because of its difficulty, but it is by far one of the best games that has been released in 2022, and is potentially a Game of the Year contender at this point. The gameplay is obviously the biggest thing I think that this game has going for it, because its combat is flows so well, and the different character builds can change a person's gameplay from one person to another, and everyone's experience can be completely different. As well as not being such a linear experience, you can kind of explore the world at your own pace if you're daring. Obviously, you can get to the wrong parts of the world and find enemies that are going to completely outdo you at your current state. But the game is such an amazing experience that I think anyone who is looking for that RPG, action, dark fantasy style story, this is going to scratch that itch for sure. You can invest hundreds of hours into this game and probably still not be done with it, and that is something that a lot of us have needed in the first half of 2022, because there hasn't been a lot of games, unless you've heard this list, and then you realize there's a whole lot of games to play, just maybe not all of them are for you.
Guys, I have to say I'm pretty full. I wish I would have remembered all of these games came out for the first half of the year instead of starving for the past 7 months. But that's it for me, guys. I really hope I helped feed you all some really good games to play for this time you're waiting for new games to come out. But speaking of which, we have a whole bunch of new games coming out, so I need to make some room because new games need to enter my clean plate. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see y'all next time.